Celtics blow another huge lead. They lose to the Wizards 106-99 in a Saturday afternoon matinee. This is the Garden Report on Celticsblog and CLNS Radio. All right, so the Celtics blow it again. Evans, Clinchy, Jared Weiss here to break it down for you. The Bruins are about to play their game on the nightcap, so we had to actually move to a different section of the halo, as we call it up here. But let's actually talk about the Celtics game. Maybe the Bruins will win tonight, give something for people to cheer about. But the Celtics gave a lot to cheer about in the first quarter. They shot 67% in the first quarter, and then it was kind of a steady decline downhill from there, Evans.
Yeah, I feel like this was kind of like the Pistons game on Wednesday in that the other team didn't really turn it on defensively until like midway through the second quarter. The Celtics were getting everything they wanted offensively. Everything was open, whether it was a layup or, Chris Humphries hitting open elbow jump shots. I mean, whatever option they wanted, it was there, and they didn't have to try very hard for it. After that, just like the Pistons did, the Wizards turned it on. They started locking down defensively. They made it a lot tougher, and they forced the Celtics to create their own shots and hit jumpers, and that's where they're a little bit more shaky, and it showed in this one down the stretch.
Well, the shakiness was in the turnovers.
That's
it. It was the perimeter defense from Washington was incredible at the end of the game. Celtics didn't have a field goal from the 6:13 mark when Jeff Green had a shot until that Jared Sullinger kind of like wild hook shot at the end when it didn't really count anymore.
Right. I mean, they've got to either make a choice. They either charge into the paint, try to get the basket and risk turning it over, or settle for a jump shot but don't risk turnovers. And either way, you're putting yourself in harm's way because they're not very efficient either way.
Well, I think they were risking turnover no matter what because they were turning it over early in the play. It wasn't like they were getting into the hoop and then they were turning it over there. It was out on the perimeter trying to set up the play, and Wall or Ariza or Beal would poke it away.
Especially the first 2 minutes of the third quarter, like guys couldn't even dribble like 2 steps inside the free throw line.
Did they have 3 or 4
line.
straight turnovers?
Yeah, they would just like trip and fall. They were just like uncontested drives where they just like lost the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. It was a rough start to the second half, and it just kind of snowballed from there. Not a good second half for the Celtics at all. And
Gerald Wallace did have 3 field goals today. That was new.
Yeah, early in the game, right? He had 3 in like the first quarter and a half.
He had a really
something.
nice layup, kind of driving from the elbow through traffic.
Yeah, he's good at scoring when nobody tries to stop him. But yeah, I mean, Gerald Wallace is doing Gerald Wallace things, and he's hustling and getting loose balls and doing what he can do. But this isn't on Gerald Wallace. I mean, offensively, the whole team needs to play better, and it's frustrating when they have lapses for 36 minutes in a row like this one.
Well, Jeff Green is kind of the focal point of what the issue was offensively. Stevens talked about at the end of the game how they need to recognize when they're not hitting their shots, and they need to get defensive stops, and they need to attack the rim to make up for it. And Jeff, he was missing a lot of shots. It was a game where he was out of it. And on the other side, Trevor Ariza, a very similar player that doesn't have the same level of offensive talent. Well, they're both really athletic 6'8" guys that can shoot and defend.
They have the same physical tools. They don't use them in the same way. Let's put it that way.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But Ariza was incredible today.
He had shots.
Yeah, he had 5 3-pointers. He had 8 rebounds, some really clutch steals. While Jeff was another one of those kind of ghosts of Jeff Green type of games.
Yeah, I think Green was trying to get the numbers without working hard for them, and he put up 6 3-point attempts and missed all of them. It was just kind of, he wanted to get his numbers, but he just doesn't want to exert the effort to get there. And he's been like this entire 2.5 years the Celtics have had him. He's had just nights where he's focused, nights where he's not, and you just don't really know which Jeff Green you're going to get. And tonight he wanted to put up the numbers, but he didn't want to put up the effort to get there, and it showed on the scoreboard. When he shoots 4 for 13 like he did tonight, it's because he wasn't putting any effort into it. And they got to find other ways to score in that situation. And tonight it was Avery Bradley trying to pick up the slack, and for a brilliant 3-minute stretch that worked, but then the rest of the game not so much. And it's just, the Celtics can't find a consistent offensive rhythm because there's just one guy stepping up and then one guy not, and then one guy stepping up and one guy not. The consistency's not there, and tonight, they had a really solid first quarter, but the rest of it was kind of hit or miss.
Well, Avery was kind of old school Avery tonight. He had the corner threes going, he had the handoff pull-up shots, and then the backdoor cuts, which are kind of like a staple in the second season with the Celtics.
Yeah, I think he had 3 mid-range jumpers in a row where he just kind of stepped into it, got a pass from either Humphries or Phil Pressey, one or the other, and then he would knock down that mid-range jump shot with rhythm. But it was really just a 3-minute stretch of the game, and the other 45 minutes we weren't seeing much Avery Bradley offensively. So, he scored 26 points, which is an impressive number for him.
Shot 12 for 18.
He shot 12 for 18. But it's just like he had one brilliant 3-minute stretch, and then the final 10 minutes of the game, he was taking shots that weren't his game. He was kind of stepping into these long contested twos. He was trying to attack the basket against bigger guys. He was doing things that weren't working. And he was trying to push himself to do more because the rest of the team wasn't picking him up. And it's not going to work that way. You're not going to get Avery Bradley carrying to a win offensively. That's not his game, and he knows it. The whole team knows it. But it was just kind of an off night mentally where they couldn't find something that worked for them.
Well, the guy he was going against, John Wall, the first quarter, John Wall didn't do anything in the first quarter. He had like 2 3-point attempts that were pretty bad misses. Completely different player in the second half of the game. It looks like whatever they talked about at halftime, Randy Whitman made the adjustments, tried to kind of just talk Wall into attacking the rim. And it really starts with the turnovers, because they were getting on the break so much because of all those Celtics turnovers, and Wall was fantastic leading the break.
Yeah, I think Avery really gets up for that John Wall matchup. Those two guys were in the same class in high school, remember. 2009, Bradley was the #1 high school prospect in the nation, and Wall was like over Wall, who was like 4 or 5 or something.
I think he was #2, wasn't he?
Was he? I don't know. But and then 2010, Wall goes first in the draft, Bradley goes 21 or whatever it was, and all of a sudden there's this rivalry. Like, Bradley wants to step up and outplay him every time. And I love watching Bradley against guys like that who he really, really has a special motivation to lock down, because he played in the first quarter like a guy that was really motivated to shut John Wall down. It's hard to do that for 48 minutes because John Wall is really fast and really agile and really just relentless on the floor. Bradley gave it his all, but when you're doing that defensively and carrying the team offensively like he was, Avery's only human. So that showed through eventually.
He's only human.
Unfortunately, Avery Bradley is a human being, and being a Homo sapiens, he could not finish this one. So he tried, and it's laudable, but John Wall got the best of him in the end.
All right, well, Latin aside, we'll come back for the second video, talk about Jordan Crawford facing his old team. Kind of had the tingling of a revenge game, at least before the game. Didn't really go his way, though. Yeah, exactly. And then we'll talk about the trade that never was, Omer Asik going to the Celtics. Will it happen in February, actually? That's a question. Garden Report, CLNS Radio, Celticsblog. We'll be right back with part 2.